Things Podcast. All right, so I am talking now to Clint Spain from Kamikaze Zombie, which, dude, 2 years, is that right?
Yeah, 2 years.
It's ridiculous. I can't even believe, because I honestly felt like it couldn't possibly have been a whole year, but I know it was before Dragon Con 1 year that I talked to you, and it just turns out it was from the one like 2 years ago, so that's ridiculous, but I'm glad to be talking to you again, and you've got a new album, and it's pretty fucking badass.
Thanks.
What's been going on? What's been happening over the last 2 years? Let's catch up a little bit before we talk about the Destroyer of all things.
Oh yeah. So Kamikaze Zombie has been hella busy the last 2 years, and we've toured a lot, and we're getting ready actually this Friday to start our next run. Our first night will be in Atlanta at the Highlander with Bless the Dead, which is a good friends of ours, and can't wait. This will be a great way to start our next run. But yeah, we've been touring a whole lot, and then after we quit touring, we took about 6 months of just kind of downtime, just really focus on writing and touching up the album for Destroyer of All Things, and making sure it was studio ready. And we worked really close with our new drummer Terry, because Terry's been with us for about a year and a half now, I guess, and he's phenomenal. And but just getting with him and working out that stuff.
So the album itself is, like, some of the themes are super easy to pick up on. A Warning from Space, fucking awesome. Any song about aliens, I'm there. Tremendously put together, and the album overall really, really tight and clean. Like, what was the this time? Because I think last time you guys recorded at Lead Belly 2, is that right? We did Matt both times. So you had like a comfortable, familiar experience. Did you bring a lot of stuff that you learned last time into this recording experience? Yes,
man. So the first time we went in with Night of the Nebris, it was definitely a learning experience for me and Steve. And Steve and I said, fucking second day in for Night of the Nebris, we said, we're not doing this again. Our next run will be much cleaner. So, we shut down shop about August of last year, and just really focused on making sure we had everything, our ducks in a row, much more than we did last time. And Matt, the producer at Lead Belly, he straight up said, we came in much better and much more prepared. And Steve and I just really spent a lot of time together, just back and forth. I would drive to his house and just spend hours together, just making sure we're playing the right stuff, making sure the guitar parts are right, making sure we even liked the song. If there was parts of the song we wanted to drop, we cut it, and just took our time on it. And on this album, Steve got to write a lot more than he did on the last album, which is great because the dude's a fucking killer guitar player. And we just me and him just really put in a lot more work, and you can tell.
So as far as the song selection, did you have a lot of stuff that didn't make the cut, or did you have stuff that you maybe loved at first but ended up getting changed a whole lot between inception and the recording process?
Not too much. We had a song, The Cycle of Demons, that's on this album, on Destroyer of All Things, that originally was going to be played, was going to be recorded for Night of the Nebris, but it just wasn't ready, and we didn't want to rush it. So we waited and held it for this album, which I think fits this album much better. And we have one song that we did cut the end off of it and put it on the song The Devil's Night. And but now Steve and I are actually playing with that riff, and we're going to use it on the next album. We're actually right now in the process of writing album number 3.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And we're actually going to do a third album, and sometime next year we're planning on doing a covers album with 2 original songs and a bunch of covers to it. So that'll be fun. But yeah, we don't really have leftover songs. We usually, everything we write, we usually use.
Now you mentioned the Cycle of Demons, which has a badass guitar part at the end. That one jumped out at me. I guess it's the solo towards the end of the song.
Oh yeah.
When you're putting, well, first of all, even deciding like whether or not a song is going to have a guitar solo, like how do you feel something like that out? And once you determine that it's going to be in there, what's the process of figuring out what fits the song?
Solos are 100% left up to Steve as far as how he wants to approach it and how he wants to play the solo. The only thing I ever input on is maybe sometimes I'll be like, why don't you put the solo here instead of there type stuff. But most all that stuff is 100% on Steve. He has a great ear, and I just trust what he wants to do, and that's been our formula from day one. You know, I'll write, I may write the riff, you know, or the rhythm part. Sometimes he writes that too, but sometimes he'll have both ideas in his head. He'll be like, I'm writing this rhythm, and this lead's going to go over this rhythm, and he'll play it for me through a loop pedal or something so I can get the idea, and it just goes, you know. But yeah, that's all him. That's 100% him on how he writes those leads.
How much opportunity have you guys had to play this stuff out so far? Like out live?
Well, we've played it out a couple times. We've actually changed up lineup a little bit too. In the past, I played rhythm guitar and did vocals, but since I guess our CD release show was maybe the first one. No, we opened for Black Dahlia Murder back in May, and then we played with we did the Nation of Devastation tour with Dart Funeral and Belful Gore and all those guys. They came through Birmingham. We opened up for that. And then we did our CD release show. And those have been really that, and we played one in Huntsville. So we've had about 4, maybe 5 shows with the album playing out live. And I only do vocals now. I don't play rhythm guitar. Steve does all guitar work live.
Oh, wow.
And it makes for a much better show. We're way more intense, and I can get into the crowd and really focus on being a frontman and really rallying the crowd and interacting with people. And it's been great. It allows me to also do all the samples live, so we can put on a much better and much tighter stage show than we had in the past. It's basically what we've always wanted to do, and now having me as a free agent on stage to run about and do everything is great. We're even thinking sometime in the next 6 months to a year, getting a little more stage show oriented with like videos and stuff in the background, and just really going all out with that whole image thing, because image is really big for us.
It sounds like this has been really invigorating for you guys, like because so often you hear, all right, well, we've got the album recorded, now we've got to tour it, now we've got like but you're working on the next album, you've got big plans for your live show. Like, it sounds like you guys have a lot of energy right now.
Yeah, man. Like, we were kind of starting to kind of feel the weight of not doing much with the old album. Like, the old album, Night of the Nuberous, it didn't seem very old to a lot of people because it was kind of new to everyone, because when we finally made it out with it, it was like, wow, this is awesome. But for us, we had been playing on those songs for about 4 years before most people heard them, so it was just like so tired of playing those songs. Like, Steve and I have a joke, like, we'll never forget Death Rides a Horse even if we wanted to, because it's just ingrained into our brains.
That seems common though, is like, because so many times, you start off as a band, you got to get good, you got to figure out what everybody's good at, you got to get your repertoire of songs that you like together, and by the time you really start getting some traction and getting recognition, you've been living with the stuff that people are just discovering for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a lot of the reason why I read an interview with some of the guys in Soundgarden a while ago, and they were talking about when we hit it big, we'd been playing those songs for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, we were we were already sick of the stuff that people wanted to hear at shows.
Yeah.
And speaking of people hearing stuff at shows, is there any of the new stuff that you've already kind of noticed is getting a big reaction, or is there any stuff that you're particularly enjoying playing live?
Yeah, so it's funny, like two songs. So like when we were before the album came out, we played the song Prometheus live a lot on the tours we're promoting. Night of the Nuberous. When we're doing the Night of the Nuberous runs, we played Cycle Demons and Prometheus just to kind of road test and give people a sneak peek of what's coming. And Prometheus was getting okay kind of, reactions. Like, they're like, that's cool, but nothing like, hell yeah,
Right,
But now, since the album's out, I don't know why, but now since the album's out, Prometheus is one of our fan favorite kind of songs. But Devil's Night and The Dark Eyes of London seem to be two of the songs that people really like live. They get a lot of energy going. M, for me, is one of my favorites. I love that song. I love the crazy 3/4 time signature that's in the song. It just keeps beating you with a hammer, it feels like, the whole time. And what other song has been really just we play It Watches live, which is fun because no one knows how to move to it because it has that really crazy jacked up middle part. So by the time they find the groove, we're going into the death metal blast beat part. So then everybody say, "Oh, okay, I get this part." But when we get into that Meshuggah groove in the middle part of it, it's just no one knows what to do with it. It's funny watching people have seizures.
Yeah, there are a lot of sort of styles within styles on this one, I feel
like.
I was very impressed with how the cadence changes in a lot of places, and it kind of goes off into something a little bit different from what you expect, which is a crazy thing to do when the average song length is like 2 minutes.
Right, right. But that's always been kind of our thing. Like, that's always been like the KZ sound has been taking a whole bunch of stuff and putting it into a blender and mixing it all up, and what comes out,
Yeah.
But then also on top of that, having like that 2 minute grindcore style, always kind of like just keeping the fat off of it kind of thing.
Well, and that's what I love is nothing feels self-indulgent. I really do feel like you guys get in there, you do what you want, and you move on. There's nothing that feels like that, oh, it's time for the 7-minute intro before the song actually starts.
Right.
Which, don't get me wrong, I love some of that stuff too, but it can get old if the artist isn't good at, like you said, cutting the fat.
Yeah, like some bands are great at it. Like Metallica's first 3 albums, I mean, they wrote like 20-minute songs, and it was amazing. You stayed, in it the whole time. And then there's stoner metal bands that can play, like my buddies in the band Hexes, like they're great at it. They play 3 songs for the whole set, and their whole set's 30 minutes long. So, but they keep you they keep you engaged the entire time. You don't ever think, God damn, when this is going to be over, But there are other stoner metal bands that aren't that great at doing that thing, and they play songs, and like 5 minutes in, and like you're ready to jump off a cliff and claw your eyes out, So
yeah, it comes across more like wandering around a guitar.
Yeah.
So in that time frame, what kind of stuff have you been taking in, like movies, TV shows, whatever, that's sort of inspired you? Like, what is there any new stuff that you've checked out, or even maybe old stuff that you hadn't seen before that's really gotten you going and been like, man, this is the kind of thing I'd like to write some music about?
Well, so this album, it was weird because when we first started writing it with like lyrical content and trying to come up with like the movie kind of thing, because that's kind of our niche. I was kind of having a dry spell, like hardcore, and my wife, she's really into like fantasy movies and stuff, and she's really into like The Never Ending Story is one of her favorite movies.
Okay.
So we were watching that, and that kind of the end of the nothing, the idea of the nothing. If you notice, it's a recurring theme on the whole album. That intrigued me. I liked I just liked how intense it was, and I took it and twisted it up, and I was watching Return of the Living Dead, and that scene where they're talking to the corpse on the table, and the corpse is all like, they eat brains because it hurts to be dead. I thought that was crazy and just a really cool concept. And I just took that concept and the nothing and mixed it all into one little idea. And from there, it just started pouring out of me like crazy. And it just kind of became an overall theme. And the actual title of the album, originally I was going to do from a Godzilla movie. I was going to do The Destroyer of Worlds was going to be the title of it. But I changed it last minute to All Things. I thought it was a little more cryptic and it fit the other ideas a little more.
Well, and it seems bigger. Like the Destroyer of Worlds is kind of a, we've heard that concept, right? We know like a Galactus and beings like that. You know what that's about. But the Destroyer of all things, like that's way more encompassing. That's everything. There's nothing like as soon as I saw the title, I was like, man, that's like a complete statement right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and like at one point we had talked about maybe the title being A Warning from Space was going to be the title of the album. I thought that was a cool title, but then one day I was just like thinking about it, and once I thought Destroyer of All Things, it came to me just like an epiphany, and then all of a sudden I couldn't get it out of my head, and I was just like, man, that is fucking awesome. And the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is going to be the title.
Yeah, that's a powerful title. I love it. It's funny you mentioned Neverending Story because, like, looking back at 80s fantasy movies and the type of stuff that I grew up on, there's so much horror in a lot of those supposed kid movies from that era. Like, it's really wild. A lot of the concepts, like if you look at something like Time Bandits, a pretty whimsical Terry Gilliam movie. But then at the end, his parents touch the ultimate evil. Spoiler, by the way, if you haven't seen this 30-year-old movie. At the end, his parents touch the ultimate evil, and they're gone. It's like horrifying. And there was a lot of that kind of shit in the, the 80s, not necessarily horror, but fantasy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot. The fantasy's a lot darker in the 80s, which I like, which I can watch I'm not much of a fantasy buff, but if we're going to watch a fantasy movie with my wife because she loves that stuff, I'd rather do something from the 80s than like more modern stuff. More modern stuff seems too happy-go-lucky for me.
Yeah. We've lost a certain amount of darkness, and I think it's you're better rounded seeing more of that kind of stuff. So is there any modern stuff that's caught your eye lately? Like in the last couple of years, any movies that have really kind of gotten you thinking about darkness and evil and whatever? It's just stuff like, I'm thinking of stuff like, did you check out The Void?
I haven't, but I will check it out though.
Man.
The last movie I watched that was newer was it's still a little old now, but Terrorizer that was on Netflix.
Oh yeah, the clown, right?
Yeah. And that was such a pleasant surprise. I was just sitting here just like bored, and I was like, I guess I'll just check this movie out, and I put it on. And I was just sucked in, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. And now they're making another one, like part 2, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much out of that one because...
Me either.
Well, so often now, anybody can make a movie.
Yep.
And, sometimes something can be like low budget and really independent and still be really awesome, and that's great, and I love that. But a lot of times, I mean, more often than not, the sort of independently made movies that show up on streaming services are either they're so recognizable, like where their influences came from, that it's just not interesting, or they really needed more budget than what they had, and they didn't take the time to recognize their resources and just kind of went beyond what they were capable of, and it shows.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, there's been some pretty cool stuff showing up lately, and that was one of them. Like I said, I didn't expect anything, and then it had one of the most brutal kills I've ever seen.
Oh man, yeah.
But it wasn't just that kill. Like the movie was actually good.
It was very good and super suspenseful. It kept you like, I kept like I was in it the whole time, and it never was like a moment where I was just like, I wonder what so and so is doing right now. Like I was just really focus on the movie, and a lot of modern films don't do that for me. they like to recap stuff too much, and I start getting kind of frustrated because it's like I do remember what happened 5 seconds ago. I don't have that bad of ADD, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of modern stuff tends to give you too much opportunity to like want to check your phone.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I gauge how interesting something is or how into it I am, is if I want to look at my phone or not.
Right, because if it's really good, you don't even know you have a phone.
Right.
Like it's just the new Suspiria movie, the remake of Suspiria. I wanted to see that. I still haven't seen it, but all my friends who are super film buffs, they all say it's worth the watch. The new Halloween was great. I loved it. I was pretty impressed with that one.
Yeah, I'm with you. Suspiria, yes, you absolutely need to see it. I didn't love it as much as everybody else did.
Yeah.
But it is totally, like, you have to see it. It's one of those movies you just have to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Halloween, dude, that made me so happy.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because there were so many red flags going into it of like, I don't know about this. And then I felt like they just nailed it and left me wanting more.
Oh my God, yeah, dude. Like, whoever thought Danny McBride would write the most ultimate Halloween horror movie script?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. So if someone told me like 5 years ago, whenever Eastbound and Down was like really famous, popular on HBO, they were like, that guy right there is going to write the best Halloween movie you'll ever see next to the original. I'd be like, what?
Yeah, no, I never would have believed Kenny Powers would be the guy to take the reins of the Halloween franchise with his buddy, the Foot Fist Way guy.
Right.
And they totally nailed it. They brought back Laurie in such a more satis, because I'm not a big fan of H2O.
Me either.
So to see Laurie actually get a good comeback that like totally made sense, like it really felt organic and real as to how everything would have went down. Yeah, I enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, everything. I even loved like the opening scene with in the insane asylum with all the other. Oh man, that was so awesome, and the way he got his mask back in this one made so much more sense. And the teeth scene in the bathroom was just epic. I love that movie from beginning to end, and Carpenter killed it on the score, like killed it.
For me, the big thing about that bathroom scene is up to that point, you kind of thought these were going to be not your main characters because we know Jamie Lee Curtis is in it, but you thought they were going to be important characters.
Right,
and then they fucking kill them.
Yeah, just brutally kill him. Like, just game over. Yeah.
I dug it, man. I dug it. All right, so with the Destroyer of All Things, like I said, really clean, really tight, just a good, solid listen all together. I know I can't ask you if you've got a favorite song off of it. That's ridiculous. But are there any little bits and pieces you injected in there? Like Devil's Night has some Crow references in there, a warning from space, has alien references. Are there any little references that you were like particularly excited about working in there, and you were like, oh man, this one, like this is the way to get this in there, and when people hear it, they're gonna really love it. Like, are there any little pieces like that you just knew were gonna be gold?
The Devil's Night is cool that you picked up on the Crow stuff. A lot of people didn't get the Crow, but yeah, Devil's Night is actually a combination of the Crow and Harry Potter. And my wife's a huge Harry Potter fan, and I think it's like it's the second one, I guess, or the third. I can't remember. It's Sorcerer's Chamber of Secrets, or whatever the crap is called. But there's a scene where they talk about drinking bloods of unicorns and living forever, and I thought that was just the coolest fucking idea. So I put it in there, and let's see. I loved A Warning from Space. That one was probably one of my favorite songs to write lyrically, because it's straight up just me writing my love letter to the Alien movies.
Well, and it's funny to see that title because it's A Warning from Space. It's right there in the title what it's about.
Yeah.
But then you get to the song and you actually hear the LV-426, and you're like, oh shit, that's exactly what this is.
Yeah. And, well, the name of the song is actually another horror movie from the 50s. It's another alien horror movie. it's like it's really quirky. It's like a Japanese horror movie.
Oh, nice.
And these aliens come down like these like star-looking guy things. It's worth a watch. It's fun. It's a fun popcorn movie just to sit around on a Saturday morning and check out some horror movies. But yeah, I used it, and then we went straight up into alien territory. And my wife helped me write the course. She's always like, I wrote that shit. I'm like, yeah, you helped me write it. You didn't write the whole thing, But I guess another one I love sneaking in there was in Cyclodemons. Most that song I wrote kind of close to the chest about some stuff going on in my own personal life with some close friends and close family who's had issues with drug addictions and stuff. But then I noticed as I was writing it, it was getting way off Kamikaze Zombie topic. So towards the end, though, like when we go to the breakdown part, I brought it back around to Terminator 2. And all the lyrics are from Terminator 2 with Sarah Connor.
Okay.
There's no fate but what we make for ourselves. All that is Terminator 2 stuff.
It was because it was kind of resonating in my head, and I couldn't quite. The old brain wouldn't pull out what exactly it was. That's awesome. Do you ever have sort of a temptation to work on a little stuff on the side that maybe isn't Kamikaze Zombie appropriate material, or have you got like a little collection of maybe one day this stuff will see the light?
Well, Steve and I actually are kind of, I'm not trying to spill the beans because we haven't really announced this yet, but we have I'm trying to figure out how to say it without saying it. We have a thing coming up. We do have a kind of a side project with some friends.
Okay.
That we are kind of working on. That's going to be completely different from Kamikaze Zombie, and I think people will be surprised at the positions the people who are in the band are going to be holding, because we're not going to be holding our typical positions that you would think. Like for instance, I'm actually going to be the drummer for this particular thing, which is totally weird because I've never played drums in front of anybody other than like a couple people in band practice. Like when we write songs and stuff with drummers, I'll get behind the kit sometimes and show them how to play the part if they can't figure out what I'm talking about. But this will be the first time I'll play drums in an actual band.
Oh wow, that's wild. And see, I think though that's just part of being creative is you get you find one avenue that you start to you're proficient at, and you're finding satisfaction in it, and I think that creative juice just sort of keeps going, and you're like, well, what other directions can I focus on? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that, and with this particular project, there's a couple of one, Steve and I, with Kamikaze Zombie, is still very much fun for us, and I love KZ, like it's my heart, and there's no indication of Steve and I ever quitting this band or slowing down or whatever, but it is still kind of becoming more of a job. We're getting to a point now where we have to tour, we have to do this, we have to do that. But with this other band, it's just really just getting with friends and hanging out and playing music and going back to our roots of just why we actually are in a band to begin with, which is, the love of music. And there's no pressure to put on an album or any of that stuff.
Yeah, you almost need to have your non-pressing business interests as well.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. The new album, The Destroyer of All Things, obviously Bandcamp, kamikazezombie.bandcamp.com, but where else can we find you online, and what do you want to tell us about the upcoming tour?
Okay, so you can find us online, really any streaming services you have. I've been really trying to push Spotify. I'm trying to just build our fan base on there, but Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, YouTube, Amazon Music Plus. If you have like Fire Stick, you can listen to us on your TV. just any streaming service. We're even on like the German one. I think it's German, the Dozer streaming service. Any kind of streaming service you have, I'm sure we're on there. We're on iTunes. And then, kamikazezombie.com is our website. We're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Our upcoming tour is the first run of many. We're planning on really just until next year, just keep every other month, be on the road for a few weeks. This run, it starts in Atlanta, and then we go to Memphis, and then we go to New Orleans, and then Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, South Carolina, and then Fort Myers, Florida, and then we come home. And then September we go out again to Indiana, then Detroit, Chicago. I forgot Wisconsin, St. Louis, Kentucky, Tennessee, then Atlanta again for the last day, and that'll be in September.
Man, that's awesome, and that's a lot of travel in a short time.
Yeah. And then we do another one in November, but I don't have the dates for that yet. But it's going to be East Coast. I know that for a fact. It'll be an East Coast run.
And of course, everybody can keep up with you guys. KamikazeZombie.com. Clint, thanks so much for coming back on the show and for talking about what's been going on and talking about the destroyer of all things. It's badass, man.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you, mean it.